My family in Westlake Hills, Austin. They have a special talent for accidentally forgetting to invite me to Thanksgiving. Every single year. This year, I'm 32. And I decided to buy myself a gift. A house. A modern, glass and steel place, right on Lake Travis. My own sanctuary. I posted the photos online. I was proud of it. It didn't even take a full day for the response. My phone lit up with a message from my mother. Jennifer. It wasn't congratulations. It was an announcement. My older brother, Ryan, and his wife, Chloe. They would be using my new house for the holidays. Hi. I'm Susan. I'm 32 years old now. I grew up in Westlake Hills. If you know Austin, you know the name. It's where the old money lives. Full of sprawling estates, status-conscious families, and a quiet, suffocating pressure to be perfect. Our house was a massive, sterile-looking modern home that my mother, Jennifer, kept like a museum. My father, Michael, worked in private equity. The kind of job that was more about who you knew at the golf club than what you actually did. And then there was my older brother, Ryan. Ryan was 4 years older than me. And from the moment I was born, he was the heir. The golden child. I wasn't the second child. I was just the spare. The entire house was a shrine to him. The formal living room, the one we were never allowed to sit in, was dominated by Ryan's accomplishments. There were gleaming golf trophies on the mantel, framed certificates from his finance internships, a big, obnoxious photo of him shaking hands with some local politician. It was a museum dedicated to St. Ryan. My achievements. They were stored in a couple of cardboard boxes in a guest room closet. My user experience design awards. My scholarship letters. My first place ribbons from university competitions. All of it just sitting in the dark. I learned my place early on. I remember my 16th birthday. It was supposed to be a big deal. I'd been planning a small party with a few friends. I came downstairs that morning, and my parents were in the kitchen, not making breakfast, but looking at flight itineraries. My father, Michael, didn't even look up from his laptop. Plans have changed, he said. We're flying to the East Coast this weekend. Ryan has a preliminary tour of his top university choice. But it's my birthday on Saturday, I said. My mother, Jennifer, sighed, like I was being incredibly difficult. Susan, be reasonable. This is about your brother's future. You can have a party anytime. They left that Friday. I spent my 16th birthday at home. Alone. Eating takeout. They never did reschedule the party. But that wasn't even the worst of it. That came a few years later. When I was in college, I was scrolling through Instagram one afternoon, and a photo popped up. It was my mother. She was standing on the deck of a massive cruise ship, smiling, with her arm around my dad and Ryan. They were all holding champagne glasses, with the coast of Italy in the background. The caption read, "Our whole beloved family, together on the European trip of a lifetime." My stomach just dropped. A family cruise. A European cruise. I wasn't in a single photo because I hadn't been invited. I hadn't even known about it. I called my mom later that day, my voice shaking. I tried to sound casual. Oh. Wow. The cruise looked amazing. When did you guys plan that? There was a long, awkward pause. Oh. Sweetie, she said, her voice full of fake sympathy. It was all very last minute, and you were so busy with your school projects. We knew you couldn't get away. We didn't want to bother you. Bother me. I hung up the phone, and I just sat there, in my tiny dorm room. And I understood. I wasn't just forgotten. I was an inconvenience to be managed. I wasn't part of the whole beloved family. I was just the spare. But the incident that I'll never, ever forget, the one that really sums it all up, happened at Thanksgiving when I was 22. I was home from college, and Ryan had just gotten some big promotion at his first finance job. My father, Michael, made a huge speech at the dinner table. He brought out a wooden crate of vintage wine. Something incredibly expensive. "This is for you, Ryan," he said, "to celebrate a man who knows how to build a legacy." Ryan just nodded, like he expected it. Then my mother, Jennifer, turned to me. She was holding a single, unchilled bottle of cheap white wine. The label was one I'd seen at the grocery store for about $6. "Oh, and Susan," she said, handing it to me across the table. "Your aunt dropped this off last week. But I don't drink this kind. You can have it. A regift." She gave me a $6 re-gifted bottle of wine. Right after, my brother was handed a case of vintage wine for building a legacy. I just stared at the bottle. I felt the heat rise in my face. I looked around the table. My dad was already deep in conversation with Ryan about stock options. No one noticed. No one cared. It took me years to understand that this wasn't just them being mean. It was a system. I was reading an article about narcissistic family structures one night, and it all just clicked. It's called the golden child and scapegoat dynamic. The family needs one child. The golden child, that was Ryan, to project all their hopes and successes onto. He is the symbol of their perfection. But to maintain that, they also need another child. The scapegoat, that was me, to dump all of their failures, their frustrations, and their insecurities onto. It's not that they forgot me. It's that they needed me to be less than. They needed me to be the failure so Ryan could be the success. My accomplishments were a threat to their system. My very existence was just to make Ryan look better in comparison. When I finally understood that, when I realized I wasn't just unloved, I was cast in a role I never auditioned for, it changed everything. Or at least, it started to. I stayed in our family group chat, mostly just to keep an eye on things. I never posted. I just scrolled. It was always the same. Mom posting about Ryan and Chloe's expensive dinners. Dad posting about Ryan's latest deal. Then, about 3 months ago, just before this whole house thing, a message from my father popped up, directed at everyone. "Just had a great call with Ryan," he wrote. "He's closing another major deal. 36 years old and already a partner at his firm. That's what a stable career looks like." He paused. And then, he added a second message, clearly aimed at me. "Susan, you're 32 now. When are you going to stop playing with that little computer startup and get a real, stable job, like your brother?" My little computer startup? I'd been promoted twice. I was the lead UX designer. My salary was well into 6 figures. Not that I would ever tell them. I was managing a team of 6. But in his eyes, I was still just a child playing a game, while Ryan was building a legacy. I closed the chat. What was there to say? They didn't see me. They never had. The tech startup I'd been pouring my life into for 5 years was acquired by a major tech giant. And 2 weeks later, a number hit my bank account that I had to read 3 times. $150,000. It was my share of the acquisition bonus. $150,000. My first impulse. That old, stupid, hopeful impulse. Was to call my family. To finally tell them, see, I did it. My little computer job just paid off. I wanted to share it. But I hesitated. I remembered my dad's text about Ryan's stable career. I remembered the re-gifted wine. And right as I was having that thought, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. Jennifer. Susan. It read, "Your sister-in-law Chloe is having a very difficult pregnancy. She's tired and hormonal. You know how it is. I saw a handbag she absolutely loves. It would be a wonderful pick-me-up for her before the baby comes. I'll send you the link. It's only $3,000. Please have it messengered to their house by this weekend. Thanks, sweetie." I just stared at the message. She didn't ask me. She didn't say please. She commanded me to spend $3,000 on a designer handbag for the golden wife of the golden child. For the family that gave me a $6 bottle of regifted wine. All that hope I felt 2 minutes ago, it curdled into a cold, hard rage. I closed the message. I didn't respond. I opened my laptop, but I didn't go to the handbag website. I opened the real estate app I'd been scrolling through for months, just for fun. And I saw it. The lake house on Travis. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A huge deck, cantilevered over the water. 3 bedrooms. Modern. Clean. And quiet. It was $550,000. And with my bonus, I could afford the down payment. I didn't think. I just did it. I called the agent. I signed the offer online that night. And I transferred the deposit the next morning. It was impulsive and reckless, and it was the first thing I had ever done. In my entire 32 years. Just for me. A month later, I got the keys. And just before Thanksgiving, I posted the photos. Me. On my new deck. Holding a glass of champagne. The caption was simple. Thankful for the life I'm building. My phone didn't just buzz. It exploded. A dozen missed calls. Texts from Michael. Texts from Jennifer. Texts from Ryan. What is this? Whose house is that? Where did you get this kind of money? And then, the summons. A group text from my father: "Get to our house. Now. We need to talk." I got in my car and started the drive to Westlake Hills. And as I drove, that old, familiar feeling washed over me. My hands were shaking. My stomach was in knots. I felt guilty. Why? Why did I feel guilty? I was a 32-year-old woman. I just bought a house with my own money. And yet, driving to my parents' house felt exactly like it did when I was 12, and being called in for breaking one of my mother's stupid vases. It's a psychological trick. You know? It's called learned helplessness. It's what happens when you spend 30 years being told, over and over, that your feelings are wrong, that you're too sensitive, that you're too dramatic, that you're ungrateful. You get conditioned. You're gaslit into believing that every conflict must be your fault. My heart was pounding, and I felt like a child. A part of me, even after all this, was still that little girl, just desperately wanting them to finally say, "Congratulations. We're proud of you." I parked in front of the massive, sterile house I grew up in. I took a deep breath. I had no idea that the little girl hoping for approval was about to die. I walked into the formal living room. It was exactly like I remembered: cold, gray, and feeling like no one actually lived there. And there they were, arranged on the expensive, uncomfortable sofas like a panel of judges. My father, Michael, sat in the center. My mother, Jennifer, was perched on the edge of her seat. And my brother, Ryan, was leaning back, arms crossed, looking bored. I sat in the single armchair across from them, the interrogation chair. Silence. Just a heavy, cold silence. My father, Michael, spoke first. His voice wasn't angry. It was worse. It was disappointed. Like I'd failed a major test. "Whose house is that?" "Susan." I kept my voice perfectly level. "It's mine." "Don't be ridiculous." Ryan chimed in from the couch. "You can't afford that." "Where did you get the money?" my father demanded. I looked at each of them. That little girl who wanted approval was gone. I just felt tired. I got it from my job. The little computer startup. You told me to quit? I explained it to them. Flatly. How I was the lead user experience designer. How my little company had just been acquired by a major tech corporation. And how my bonus was $150,000. The room went completely silent again. But this time, it was different. I watched their faces. I waited for a congratulations. Or wow. Susan. Or even just, we didn't know. Nothing. I watched as the anger on my father's face dissolved, and it was replaced by something else. A cold, hard calculation. He glanced at Ryan. Ryan looked at my mother. And then Ryan, the golden child, leaned forward. Chloe is pregnant, he said, as if this explained everything. That house? It's perfect. The lake view would be very calming for her. I just stared at him. What are you talking about? My mother, Jennifer, finally spoke. She smiled. But it was the plastic, brittle smile she used at her charity events. This is wonderful news. Susan, truly. She continued. Your father and I have been trying to figure out where to host Thanksgiving this year. Our friends are so eager to see a new property on the lake. Your house is the perfect solution. We'll host our party there. It will be a lovely way to show it off. I couldn't speak. Their party. To show it off. And, she went on, steamrolling ahead. Ryan is right. Chloe is having a very difficult time. Their house is so stressful right now, with the nursery renovations and the baby coming. They need a quiet place. I felt the blood drain from my face. I knew what was coming. It's settled, Jennifer announced, clapping her hands together softly. They'll use your house for a baby moon before the birth. And after, it will be their permanent weekend office. Ryan needs a quiet place to work. Away from a crying baby. It's perfect. She looked at me, still smiling, as if she had just given me a gift. After all, she added, her voice dripping with false logic. You're all alone in that big place. You don't need all that space. It just makes sense. They didn't ask. They didn't request. They announced it. They had sat there, listened to my greatest professional achievement, and in 30 seconds, had calculated exactly how to harvest it for the benefit of the golden child. My house, my sanctuary, had become Ryan's weekend office. I started laughing. Not a small laugh, a sharp, uncontrollable one that filled the cold, empty room. 32 years of silence finally cracked. They all stared. My mother's fake smile slipped. What's so funny? Ryan snapped. You, I said, voice cooling. All of you. This little plan. I stood. Help each other. Like when you left me home on my 16th birthday to take Ryan on a college tour. Or that family cruise you forgot to invite me to. Maybe when you gave him vintage wine and handed me a $6 re-gift. Silence. My mother looked horrified. My father furious. Ryan annoyed. You don't know me, I said. You've never even asked. My father rose. That's enough. If you leave, you're cutting ties with this family. I stopped at the door. You cut ties years ago. You just never looked. I left, and for the first time, I didn't look back. I blocked them all. And in the quiet, I realized family isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's something you do see. Support. Show up. If they don't, they're just people you used to know. That Thanksgiving, I hosted my own. No mansion. No pretense, just my lake house. Friends? My mentor. And Grandma Evelyn. Laughter. Food. Music. Real warmth. I posted a photo. My chosen family. Mom commented. Nice to see you forgot who raised you. I deleted it and went back to laughing. Later, Evelyn told me she'd defended me. Then she handed me her will, everything left to me. So you could build a life they can't touch, she said. Months later, my parents showed up at my work, begging for my house. No, I said. This is the last time. I warned them never to contact me again, and they didn't. A year later, I'm home by the lake. Grandma beside me. The sunset gold on the water. We open that cheap bottle of wine Mom once gave me. To building your own legacy, she says. To seeing each other. I reply. The wine is awful. And we laugh until the sound dances across the water. People ask if I miss my family. I don't. You can't miss what you never really had.